Hi, and welcome to this session on the Ohio Cyber Reserve. This will give you a chance to get to know a little bit about what the Ohio Cyber Reserve is, where it came from, what we're doing now, and where we plan to go in the future. This will be a good session if you have interest in the Cyber Reserve and what it is, what you can do for the reserve, what the reserve can do for you, and maybe if you're already involved and you just want to know a little bit more about how we got here, this session should cover a little bit of all of that. All right, so some history. You really can't talk about the history of the Ohio Cyber Reserve without talking about the OC3, the Ohio Cyber Collaboration Committee. And this is a group that was formed by the governor's office back in the Kasich administration when the governor's office and some of the legislature were really concerned about the growing cyber threat and what it would mean to the state. We certainly had people doing cyber protection within the state for state and local governments and for our critical infrastructure providers. But the people doing it, the number of people we had was insufficient for a large cyber attack if we ever came under that kind of attack. And some of the smaller local government units really didn't have the expertise that they needed to respond. So we really need to think about that. And that was one of the components of the OC3 as it was originally conceived. A second component of that was, how do we develop a cyber savvy workforce? And a third component is, where did these members of this group that we're trying to come up with that can help us respond to cyber incidents, how would they train? Where would they train? And when we talk about building a workforce that is able to respond to cyber incidents, how do we build a group like that, and how do we provide them with a place to train, and how do we teach in the K through 12 and the higher education level? How do we teach cybersecurity? We need a place that we can do that, and so a third of the major initiatives of the OC3 was the Ohio Cyber Range. Now, when they first formed the Ohio Cyber Collaboration Committee, it was actually the directors of multiple organizations within the state. So like the director of public safety for the state, the chief information security officer for the state, the adjutant general who commands the National Guard, was a member of that group, and people from OTEC, which is the parent organization of a number of computing related organizations for the state and for higher ed in the state, like the Ohio Supercomputing Center and ORNet, that provides network connectivity for higher ed in the state. So they got all these director level people together and said, this is a major problem. We're going to solve this problem, figure it out. And of course, those folks are busy, and this was one of their many competing priorities. So they appointed people that worked for them to work on it. And I was one of those folks. I was working for the state CISO at the time and was appointed to continue working on OC3 stuff as we tried to move it forward. But even at that level, really none of us were dedicated in any large scale, meaningful way to advancing the work of OC3. We did make a little progress here and there. We succeeded in some internal training and exercises kind of things, and better cooperation among our constituents. But really, in terms of advancing the major parts of the OC3 mission, we were just very slow. And that continued until the Adjutant General's office hired a civilian outreach coordinator whose full-time job it was to push this thing forward. And after that happened, more and more civilians and other individuals, both within state government, but also from industry, started becoming involved with OC3. And there were more people to work on things. And so we really were able to start pushing forward with the effort. One of the things that we did was to divide into subcommittees that would each take one of those problems. So a workforce development subcommittee, a cyber incident response committee, and an Ohio Cyber Range committee. And each of those did their own work and then came back and met together with the OC3 as a whole. And OC3 is still continuing to do more of its missions, as the other components that it was tasked with, like this civilian incident response and the Ohio Cyber Range, are spun off into their own entities. So one of these subcommittees was the Incident Response Subcommittee, and initially that was how we viewed it. How are we going to respond to a major cyber incident? It would later come to be seen as the Preparedness and Response Committee, because we realized that was a far better, more holistic approach to the issue at hand. So in 2016, the committee reviewed several possible forms of organization for the whatever these civilian response teams would turn out to be. The proposals included things like organizing them like community certs under the Ohio EMA, or organizing them under the Ohio Homeland Security's cyber center that they were building, or just different places that it could be housed. But each of those had issues, whether it was a lack of cybersecurity practice within that particular organization, or in the case of the state CISO's office, we also looked at organizing it under there. The fact that they were already spread very thin, just protecting state government without really pushing down to responsibility for the local governments and critical infrastructure across Ohio. Or in terms of Ohio Homeland, there's a law enforcement tie-in with them, and there was concern that maybe if we formed these in such a way that there was a law enforcement tie-in, especially some of the private organizations might not want to open their doors in the middle of an incident to these folks and say, sure, come in and have a look at exactly what happened, because some things would become public and some things might become a part of a legal investigation against them, and they might not agree to allow the organization into their systems. So ultimately, the proposal that was chosen by the subcommittee and proposed back to OC3 was a committee, or was a organization where we would form an Ohio Cyber Reserve modeled on the Ohio Military Reserve. The Ohio Military Reserve is also housed within the Adjutant General's office. They are the descendant, I guess, of Ohio's militia, They are one descendant of that. The Ohio National Guard is another descendant of that early militia, as is the Ohio Naval Militia. For those of you who didn't know that we had a Navy because we were afraid we might get attacked by Canada at any point, well, we do. Although that's not primarily their role anymore. But the point being, there were these other groups, the state's self-defense forces under the Adjutant General's office, and this seemed like a good place for us to put the Cyber Reserve. So over the next year, we thought through the idea. We put it through multiple rounds of review with experts from around the state, various participants within OC3, and continued to refine the proposal. And we got that to the Adjutant General's office and to their Legislative Affairs office, and they started pitching it out to legislators. So by the mid to end of 2018, the first bill proposing the Ohio Cyber Reserve actually was posted in the Ohio legislature. It came in during lame duck session. We didn't really think that it was going to pass before everybody's terms expired and we had to start over, but it was a great opportunity to build awareness of the bill and of the proposal for a cyber reserve, and to drum up support so that once we started out in the new session, that we would have a much better chance to hit the ground running and get a new bill through more quickly. It was reintroduced in 2019, had very significant support right out of the gate. Obviously, that bill was eventually signed by the governor, and we were good to go. Now, if you look in this picture, I don't know if you can see my my pointer here. Okay, so this guy. Okay, so somewhere over here, about 3 or 4 inches off the left side of your screen, you'll see me standing there. Well, you probably can't see me, but I was in the room for the signing. It was a great day for all of us who had worked a long time on this. So one of the things about this that just seemed so unprecedented to me was, if you look, this is Senate Bill 52. This was the actual bill, and here's the voting records, right? 0 nay votes. Nobody voted against this. How often do you get that many politicians in a room and nobody votes against it? Everybody understood just how important this was, and everybody voted for it. So it's a great thing. So as it passed, it took effect on January 24th of this year. And it adds section 5922 to the Ohio Revised Code. And that section actually is sort of nestled in with the sections on the military reserve and the Ohio National Guard and that kind of thing. And it specifically clarifies that, that this is a state-specific unit and can't be called into federal service. It appropriated some funds for us to get started, and then it addressed a number of issues about exactly what it was we were talking about here and where it fit. So it places us as part of the state's self-defense forces, and it addressed a number of issues that we were concerned about, because other states had tried to stand up civilian incident response capabilities before, but none of them, at the time that we were drafting all of this, none of them had ever been used. And the reason that was they were missing significant pieces of what we built into this bill. So the first thing was liability. None of those other units had been structured in such a way that when people were acting as part of this civilian incident response corps for their state, that they were acting as agents of the state. They were all acting as individuals coming to the state's aid. But where that left them was from the standpoint of liability. If anything went wrong, if they made any mistakes, if anything happened as a result of their duties, they were personally liable. And that really caused some concern for them and for the organizations not really wanting to deploy them, because nobody wanted to expose their members to personal liability. So our bill actually clarified that when called to state active duty, we are actually acting as agents of the state, and we have the same protections from personal liability that state employees do when they're acting in the scope of their duties. It also provides employment protection, and this was another reason that people might be sometimes afraid to call these units out. We do our best to work with employers to structure people's duties around their work responsibilities. We try to be very employer friendly as an organization, and show the employers the benefits that they will get in terms of training and exposure for their people, as opposed to well, we're just going to take your people whenever we want them and all that. But ultimately, if the governor's office does call people up and says you are mandated to go someplace to respond to some major incident, they are protected in the same way that National Guard are protected. Their jobs are protected. They have a job to go back to when it's over. So on January 25th, shortly after the law actually went into effect, members met for a symposium, and these were the people who had expressed the desire to become members and gone through a whole qualification process to determine their fitness for membership. Those folks were called into this symposium. They were given presentations on what was going on and where this all fit into the efforts of the state government and public safety and other areas, and also even within the context of efforts of this sort nationally. And then we were all given a stack of papers to sign with NDAs and code of conduct and permission to perform background checks and responsibility for taking care of any equipment we were assigned, and all kinds of things that we had to sign. And then at the end of the day, the first round of members were signed in or sworn in an official ceremony to be the first set of members of the Ohio Cyber Reserve. All right, so a little bit about the structure. So the Ohio Cyber Reserve is actually composed of small teams, anywhere from 10 to 12 individuals per team. And these individuals are selected to teams, or will be selected to teams, based on specific skills needed in each team. So the teams are each going to have a set of complementary skills within them, so that we don't have somebody going out to respond to a website defacement when everybody on the team are hardcore network people. You need a set of skills. So we're going to have teams like this all around the state eventually. And each team is going to have 10 to 12 members with complementary skills. And each team will probably have some strengths and so on that they can bring to bear, and teams will support one another with special strengths that a given team might have. So it's not as if because an incident is happening in Cleveland and that team is on it, and it's a hospital, and we have somebody in Columbus who happens to be an expert in medical device technology. It's not like that Cleveland team can't get access to that expertise. That's kind of built into our thinking and the way we're structuring things. But in terms of who actually goes out to a response, that initial set of responders, that will be a local team. For now, we're a little more limited because we're just standing up. But eventually, we will have 1 to 2 in each of a number of regional geographic areas. So again, most of the members are going to have highly experienced technical operators in cybersecurity, and have these deep cyber backgrounds. But there are some other skill sets that we need, and we will definitely be considering people who bring those skill sets with them. So one is a type of individual that we have definitely already brought one of those on board. These are individuals with deep ties and influence in a broad geographic or professional community. So this might be somebody who would have a regional, coalition kind of focus, and really be well known in that region, and know all the people that you need to talk to, knows how to grease the wheels. Those people are extremely valuable. Same way, if we had somebody in a professional association where we thought we might be doing something with that area. So if there was some professional association of wastewater treatment people, and the person who was president of that association and knew everybody in wastewater treatment across the state decided they wanted to be part of the cyber reserve, even though they didn't really have cyber skills. That's another type of person that we might be looking for to help us in gaining penetration into those areas that we will be working with. Second type of individual we're looking at are people who may not be working in cyber per se, but they may have deep expertise in a particular area that we're likely to work with, especially like on the industrial controls side, or the medical operations side, voting infrastructure, some other form of critical infrastructure operations, pipeline operations, or power transmission operations, telecom, people that may understand how the guts of our infrastructure work. They may not necessarily have the cyber background, but they want to bring that expertise, and they will gain cyber skills, and we will gain skills in the critical infrastructure, and how the guts of that work. That's another type of person that we're looking for, even if they don't have that deep cyber security background. And then the third type of individual we're looking at would be educators and professional technical trainers, individuals that can stand in front of groups of people and talk. This is partly to help us with one of our missions, which includes going out and helping schools set up cyber clubs, and partly in just that general education and bringing the cybersecurity level of the community up. So it may be speaking engagements for community organizations and that kind of thing that want somebody to come in and talk about cyber, talk about protecting themselves online and that kind of thing. But another area that having the educators in there would be really helpful from is if we have K-12 educators who want to become involved and want to help us start seeding these cyber clubs in schools, they can talk, you know, K-12 educator to K-12 educator to the people in those other schools, and help them with their, you know, ability to push these clubs out. And we want to get that down. There's a template called the Cyber Club in a Box that Ohio Department of Education has developed, and there are components to that that we have reviewed and commented on, and we will be helping to implement that with schools. And so having educators that might have an interest in being involved with us is another area that we're really interested in getting, you know, some people outside our traditional realm involved. And then another type of membership. So up until now, we've been talking about the regular members of the reserve, but there's another type of membership that we always recognized was probably going to be an area that we wanted to become involved in. And that's what we call the associate member program. So associate members are individuals who either have not had the opportunity to get the experience, but they have a background that might help them, or they've got a background, but it's not quite where they need to be in terms of cyber to be involved with the reserve. So what we were thinking was, you got these students in cyber security programs, degree programs, who are coming out, and they're being told by the employers, this is an entry-level position and we want 2 years of experience. How somebody for an entry-level job is supposed to get 2 years of experience, I'm not sure, when nobody will hire them until they have 2 years of experience. But one of the thoughts with the associate membership program is we can get these people working side by side with really highly experienced cybersecurity professionals doing useful work in their community, and they can build that up and they can put that on their resume and look, we have this you know, practical hands-on experience that we've built up by being involved with the Ohio Cyber Reserve. Another really good way that we think that some of these folks might be used is that many of the associate members, being, you know, college level or just out of college, are probably maybe more relatable to some of the K-12 students in the cyber clubs than some of our members will be. Not that we're not all relatable, just you know, that it provides another touch point that we might be able to reach out to some of these kids and get them interested in cyber. And then the last group of, and these are not members, but this is another group, is affiliates or friends of the Ohio Cyber Reserve. So these are people who have expressed an interest in helping us, but they are not, for whatever reason, they're not willing, not able, you know, cannot make a commitment, a service commitment to becoming a member of the reserve. So these are folks who have some specific expertise that they would like to share, and they are willing to take a phone call and walk somebody through things, or maybe come out and teach a seminar for the members on a particular topic that is really in demand. Things like, you know, some of the specifics of manufacturing environments, or industrial controls, or you know, running a gas pipeline or an electric company, or something like that. Some of these folks who really understand that but can't quite make that service commitment can express interest in becoming an affiliate. And what they will do is consult over the phone with members and possibly provide some training opportunities for members. And this is a way to become involved, even if like your employer is just dead set against having you join or something like that, or you have other reasons that you know that you can't go out to the scene of an incident response. Okay, so our short-term structure is we built the first set of teams with just experienced individuals, and we wanted to take the most experienced folks and put everybody else into the affiliate program for now, because there aren't processes and procedures built. Everything is brand new. And we needed people who could sail the ship while we were building it. And that's what we've got in the reserve right now. We have 3 teams, Cleveland, Columbus, and Cincinnati. And we've got a lot of interest in Dayton. And so that is likely to be the next full team that we establish. And over time, we're going to grow that out to regions all around the state, and each region having probably more than one team in the region, so that we can respond to multiple events, or we can respond to an event and then refresh people as people have been on duty working an event for a long period of time. Excuse me. Yeah, true story here. I went out yesterday for COVID testing, and have not heard back yet, but I'm sure everything's fine. And I am recording this on a Mac, and Macs don't get viruses, so you're safe. Anyway, back to the presentation. Yeah, so over time, we're going to build this out, and people with good cybersecurity skills that need to be trained more into some of the roles are going to be brought in, and we're going to grow our numbers out considerably from here. So one of the things people ask about is uniforms, because they know we're organized under the Adjutant General, and people are trying to figure out, are we going to be like in Army looking uniforms or what? But no, our uniform is a polo shirt like this with the Ohio Cyber Reserve logo on it, and a lanyard with your badge on it, and khakis. So very similar to what many of the people that we will be going out and visiting with might be wearing on a daily basis. And that was another kind of part of the decision to go this route. Okay, so we are investing money in the membership. It takes cash to do background checks, takes cash to create credentials and purchase equipment to assign to people, and it takes a lot of money to do training. So that kind of money requires that we should make some kind of an annual service commitment to the reserve. What we're trying to show is that the money that is being poured into members is coming back in terms of service. What we don't want is to send somebody through some certification pathway, or to send them someplace for a special training and then have them leave right after, or have them not actually spend any time on the reserve for the rest of the year. So we're asking for a minimum annual service commitment. There's no minimum commitment in terms of enlistment term, term of years. That may eventually come as we figure out what is needed to kind of show value for the amount of stuff that we put in. But this is entirely voluntary, And before we start training and doing the more costly things with the current membership, they will be led to understand what that entails in terms of future commitment, and their association is at will. Even if we do end up training people and they have to leave for some other reason, there will be options like buying out the cost of training that you were given or something like that, or if it's for some disability reason that that is out of your control, those kinds of things they're going to make accommodation for, but we're going to expect a level of output from the what the reserve actually invests in people. So how does somebody become involved or express their interest in the Cyber Reserve? Well, the first thing I would do is check out the first two links here. One is just some general news about it. It talks about the legislation that was passed and what it's all about. And the second is the actual section of the Ohio Ohio Revised Code that forms the Ohio Cyber Reserve. So you can see all of Ohio's laws on codes.ohio.gov. And this one happens to be the Ohio Revised Code, section 5922. So go out and check that out. And if that still sounds potentially interesting to you, then the next step is to sign up for an account in APAN. This is an external partner network run by DoD that allows people to sign up for a free account and then be able to interact with the DoD or with the National Guard for various purposes. And once you sign up for a free account there, then you will connect back in with following this link, and that will take you to a survey and an opportunity to express interest. And don't worry, that slide is going to be repeated at the end of the deck. And the deck is going to be available from the BSides, so that you'll be able to get a hold of that and easily find the sign up link. So what happens after you express interest? Well, then there's a whole intake process. Once somebody expresses an interest in becoming a member, there's a whole series of things that happens. The individual is sent a questionnaire, and this is to gather information about your strengths, things that you know or believe that you could prove that that you're able to do. It also is a quick, very high level quiz, just to show that you have some background in cybersecurity and or IT, that kind of thing. Those get reviewed, and if you pass sort of that quick sniff test kind of quiz and survey, then you'll be referred to actually getting a test. The testing is done after an evaluation of how you did on that survey, because the testing's not free. We actually pay a third-party testing organization to provide testing for cybersecurity talent, and we don't want to spend that money for people that are clearly not really ready for it and wouldn't do well. So assuming that you do well enough on that, then you will be sent for this test. The test, there are multiple versions of the test that measure your capabilities in various areas. So you may choose a test that is oriented towards something specific. So if you're, primarily involved in application security, you might take the application security test. If you're primarily involved in industrial control security, you might take that test. But that's where it goes. And then when a group of members has taken that, there's a review board, and these review boards meet periodically. So it's not like it will happen immediately after you take your test. The review board looks through all these testing results, and we'll also look at the ones that didn't proceed to testing and see who we want to offer membership or associate membership to. Because even some of the people that might not, it might be clear from their survey results that they're not ready for regular membership, may be good for the affiliate program, or I'm sorry, for the associate membership program. After that, there's a forum that's held multiple times a year, where the candidates get an introduction to the reserve, meet a bunch of members, they'll sign all their paperwork, and then get sworn in. So our current activity, some provisional team leads and assistant leads have been appointed for each of the regional teams. So we have leadership within the National Guard that is actually kind of overseeing the effort, although they are really edging the Cyber Reserve in the direction of as much self-governance as we can take on. So the master handbook has been developed, and it is undergoing ongoing refinement. It provides a high-level outline of how the reserve is structured and some of our operations, our missions, that kind of thing. These provisional team leaders have been appointed by the commander of the Ohio Self-Defense Forces, which is my perception of it is that's everybody outside of the National Guard within the Adjutant General's office. That is, so that's us, and it's the Ohio Military Reserve and the Ohio Naval Militia, those folks. So they appointed individuals for the term of 1 year, so that we can start getting a feeling for who really wants to do what in the long term. Each of the teams was appointed 2 co-leads and 2 co-assistant leads. And so 4 leads in each region to help start kickstarting this whole effort. The provisional team leads have been meeting weekly. Every other week, the whole state team, so all the team leads from all the regions meet. And then on the off weeks, then the individual teams, their leadership meets. Each region has also connected at least one town hall to meet with all of the members in the region and start giving them a feeling for where we're at, what we need their help with, what efforts are underway, and so on, and get their questions answered. And there is a plan for a statewide town hall to be coming up here soon. It may have happened by the time you see this. So our current effort is massive. We are essentially standing up a whole new arm of state government from scratch. We don't have any of the charter or documented standards, policies, procedures that any of the other pieces of state government have, from their years of existence. So we have to develop all of that. We do have some stuff that the Guard is able to share with us. We have some stuff that the Ohio Military Reserve has been able to share with us, some things that the state CISO's office has been able to share with us. But for the most part, we are defining our own standard operating procedures, our own policies, our own HR policies, everything that you have to do to create a mid-sized organization. We are doing that from scratch right now. And so one of the main areas that our membership is involved with at the moment is actually developing our standard operating procedures. We have a number of work groups that are spinning up to do a lot of this policy and procedure development. And this is really important to get all this finalized and formalized so that we can actually show people that we have operating procedures, we have standards that we follow, and so on, before we can even start to consider ourselves operationally capable. And then once we actually have the team structure finalized as part of the stuff that we're doing, we are saying these are the skills that must be on a team. A lot of that is laid out in the master handbook, but we are reviewing and revising based on what we know that we're going to need. And once we have that, then we can start to slot individual members into individual positions and assess their readiness to perform that job. That doesn't mean, oh, you don't get the job if you're not ready. It means we know then what we need to do. So once we have clear criteria that we can measure folks against, then we can start to measure the individuals and the teams as a whole, and address any training needs, certifications required, and so on, so that we can show that our members are ready. And that's important, because when we go to an entity and say, we are going to help you respond to this incident, or we are going to help you build a cybersecurity program, if we cannot show that our people are qualified and the standards that they're qualified against, how can we get people to trust us that yes, we are qualified to help them either through a disaster or help them build their security program. Leadership's also starting to talk about the need to practice and begin practicing things as a team, because even for those individuals who are highly qualified and even the ones that are highly qualified in incident response, which is another thing, because many of the folks that we're bringing in are experienced cybersecurity pros, but not necessarily in incident response. So if you're a career red teamer and you come into the reserve, you will get trained into a response, into a blue team role that you will carry out in the midst of a major cyber incident that we get called out to, because at that point we're not looking to perform red team activities. We are looking to help the organization with their blue team stuff. So we need to make sure that that everybody is in a role that is useful in the particular response that we're in, and that they have been assessed, but then also that we've been assessed as a team, because as we start to work together, even the people who are highly capable in incident response to start out with probably haven't worked together and have not worked under the standard operating procedures that we are developing. So we need to start doing that. And we are working with the Ohio Cyber Range, which is one of those other OC3 efforts, and looking to build out exercises there, red on blue exercises, and capture the flags that we can take with us to the K-12s when we do our cyber clubs, stand-up stuff. But this is also stuff that can help build the skills of our associate members, and can help us build skills, particular skills in individual members. Okay, So to recap, how do you express interest in the Ohio Cyber Reserve? Follow these links kind of in order, and create your APAN account, and then follow the sign up link. And I'm leaving a little bit of time left for folks to ask questions. Full disclosure, I could be on vacation when this happens, and depending on my family's attitudes towards homicide, should I decide to hop on a conference chat in the middle of our vacation, I may or may not be on the question and answer, but somebody from the Cyber Reserve will be on the question and answer period. Thank you, and appreciate you coming to learn a little bit more about the Ohio Cyber Reserve.